You're listening to the Black Eagles podcast.
Ahmet Dursun Sergen aldı. Sergen Burak yan yana. Sergen Burak. Sergen. Yanında Tümer var. Tümer'e doğru attı. Tümer gitti. Tümer topu aldı. Sergen aldı. Gol! Gol! Sergen attı. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi.
İbrahim'in pası. Zuma. Şimdi Ahmet. İkinci gole gidiyor Beşiktaş. Ahmet.
Welcome back, everybody. Beşiktaş International's The Black Eagles podcast, episode 115. I am your host, Sinan, live from New York City, and with me again, officially the co-host, you could say, the Akman himself, Evran. How you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Good. Pretty good. Very good. What a weekend. In so many ways, we all enjoyed a lovely weekend, and we'll get into that, of course. It was like a long weekend of festivities for us, if you think about the big picture. But again, we'll get into that. But then we delayed a day on the release. I'll still try to edit it and get it out tonight, so it's not even that delayed. But by waiting a little, we not only got some lovely questions from our amazing followers, listeners. I don't know if you want to be called a follower either. But we also happened to have waited just long enough for an absolute torrent of just not just news, but fun, exciting, the good
some reliable sources
with
Orta Chizkia as hell.
Exactly, with great sourcing. It's when it rains, it pours, and even if when sometimes you want it to rain, I guess this is a positive rain. It usually has a negative connotation, but today it does not. Not in episode 115. Let's go, man. Let's go. We've got, of course, a lot of fun things to talk about. Without any delay, let's just get into this match. I'm talking a lot. I'm looking for a way to pass it off. All right, let's start it off with, we played on the road, although once again, nobody cares about home or away these days. There are no fans. They play in utter silence, except for the occasional fireworks. Yeah. But they played in Denizli. Denizlipor is a team struggling to survive in the Super League. But without further ado, I will now hand the mic over to you, Evran. Tell us a little bit about pre-game expectations and the lineups for this match.
Yeah, I think last game there was the positives and negatives. Obviously we lost, but we played pretty well.
Yeah, we said we needed to carry that form, right? That second half form. Sorry,
Denizli's not as strong as Antalya, and they were missing a couple players I think are very key to them. So I think we're all kind of expected to win, but are used to being disappointed. But obviously we had a striker this time.
That's always helpful.
And I think, as we all expected, Ljajic started, and I think it was kind of the lineup everyone wanted. There was a couple injuries. Vida was out. Boateng was out. But it's kind of thing exactly what everyone expected. So no surprise.
German Lens.
If you want to go through it.
German Lens on the right side.
Instead of Boyd.
Yeah, Boyd, who's been in poor form.
Instead of Diaby, actually, it was Diaby started on the right.
And Kudu on the
Kudu
left.
came back in.
We all wanted and expected that.
Yeah, Ersin retained his spot, and then Gokhan and Umut were relegated back to their substitute role with, the Craw, the King.
But
Burak,
I think, honestly, the most important roster call is the one we haven't even really discussed, and that was Ridvan Yilmaz again playing.
And Enzo Rocco, we forgot about him. His Vito was
that's
hurt.
right. And Enzo
There was a
Rocco.
toss-up between him or Erdogan Kaya starting, but we got Enzo Rocco to get one of his few appearances this season.
Indeed. Yeah, and we'll talk about it. But yeah, let's dig in, shall we? Any comments about Denizlispor's lineup before we dig in?
Yeah, I think I mentioned, to me, their two best players is Recep Niaz and Eugenio Nazi, but they were both injured. It's like not a bad team, but it lacks a little bit of creativity, especially they had Ljajic Shahan and Hadi Saka on the wings. I think last week where we struggled was Sinan Gümüş and can't remember who else they had on the wing, but was actually just like tormenting us on the counterattack. And I think, as we'll talk about it, in this game, it was not that way.
Podolski?
Yeah, Podolski. I think he played centrally, but they had Hamilton.
Oh, that's
who
what,
the other
yeah,
wing was.
freaking Hamilton.
Yeah, so we definitely had a lot more trouble on the counter last game, and I think Denizli just lacked that offensive threat.
That pace, which I guess you could say
Yeah.
Ljajic Shahan has officially lost. I mean, he was never like the fastest guy on the pitch, but
Yeah.
it was a part of his game, I think, to some extent. Yeah, sure. So, like, considering who was on the pitch for them? Boy, I'm sort of giving away spoilers, but I will say, of course, like, Rodeaga's always a threat. Isati actually kind of impressed me a little. He was fast.
Interestingly
sneaky.
enough, Isati did not play as a number 10 last season. So I did watch them a lot, but that's where my family's from.
Yeah, that's good. What do they call that?
So in the
Hamlet?
second division, he was a deep lying playmaker where he was more effective. And I think in a Super League, he's good, but like he was not as effective as Podolski, for example, or other Anadolu teams attacking mids.
Sure. Although Podolski has great. I mean, Antalya as a team, it's worth noting. I guess I'll just put this one out there. They won again this weekend, pretty seriously, in fact, and they are now 10 games undefeated. So,
In the league.
in the league,
not in the cup.
right, yeah, very, fair point.
Both
Yeah.
in the cup.
No, but really impressive. I mean, that's where they needed to be focused on. I mean, because they were in a relegation scrum for a minute there. They've really picked themselves up. They're playing really well, which is good. I think they play a number of the guys, our rivals, in the coming week. So hopefully they can keep it going.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this match, though. So, yeah, I won't really say anything else about the lineup because you pretty much covered it all. I will say, of course, that it was very nice to see Ljajic back in there because we talked about last week. We talked about how a club like ours should not feel like we have to we need to be a little bit humble in the face of who we are at the moment. And that means that we are not the type of club that can bench someone of Ljajic's quality. So it was great to see him back in there. Match gets underway. Ho-hum, nothing to really worry about. Boom, goal. 1-0 in the 10th minute. And Beşiktaş really came out with exactly the energy we wanted. They carried that second half against Antalyaspor right into this match. Actually, I will say I rewatched the Antalya match after, since beIN USA is completely useless. I'd like to highlight that again. And does not play matches at all until like 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the night of.
Second that comment. Yeah.
Thank you. But yeah, despite that, I watched that. Like that second one is kind of a calming. I like it because what's going to happen. You can kind of analyze things a little bit, and we actually dominated that Antalya match. Most of even in the first half, where they were much more effective on the counter, we were still the much better side. So I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
What's done is done.
I think last week I mentioned like the expected goals. We were still like, the numbers supported that we would probably win that game.
Yeah.
And then so it was not like we played like garbage.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, and it doesn't mean that we didn't improve throughout the game still. And so, yeah, what we wanted to see was that form carry through into this week, and it totally did. And right out the gate, we were playing. And so, like I said, 10th minute, a goal from Burak Yilmaz. no one is credited with an assist on that, which is sort of wild to me, but I think I know why. But I'll hand it over to you, Mr. Color Commentator.
Yeah. So Ljajic got the ball at like the left side corner of the box, cut in, and just delivered this amazing cross over the top, curling past the defense. And Ruiz heads it hard and low. And the Denizli goalie, Gokhan, kind of like does like a weird kick save. It bounces off into his hands, back onto the ground. And there's like a scruffle with him and Burak. So the goalie tries to smack the ball away.
Yo, that keeper's
specialty
is that kick save, which would highlight again later. But that's like his one good move because they obviously didn't have a very good day. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, he tried to smack the ball away as it was on the ground. Yeah. And then he ended up just smacking the ball into Burak's foot that was trying to shoot the ball. And the ball just
he gave it a little more
rocketed
power
into the back of the net.
Lovely stuff. Not really. Pretty ugly, actually.
Burak showing his striker instincts first to the rebound.
Yeah. And
nothing crazy.
And like his strength throughout this match, even despite the contribution to so many goals, which I'm already spoiling, but despite that, even without that, like he really weighs on a defense in a manner that
I think just for context, remember last week we said Juven entered 2 duels in the 90 minutes, and although Burak entered 12 duels, which is I think 6 times more, he only won 3 of those duels. But at least he enters, he challenges for the ball, he attempts to do things, even if he's losing the ball most of the time. It's better than just standing there like Juven was.
Yeah. And one important thing that I think I had noticed but didn't really make note of, and shouts to Yusuf of all people in the Beşiktaş International group chat, but he pointed out that we were all sort of bagging out on Kudu after that last match, but he sort of was being double teamed, and what I think teams realize they can do with him is they know that first guy, no matter who it is or how talented they are, they're probably going to get blown by because Nkudu is so fast. So you've got to kind of position someone at the end of his run, which is basically you're putting 2 defense. If Beşiktaş had someone else on the pitch who could benefit from those 2 guys being preoccupied by him, it would be great for us still. But because we had basically nobody up front, the Casper the Ghost. That was really exploited well by Antalya. But so with Burak Yilmaz, they could not do that. They couldn't afford to have that second guy stationed there often because he'd get pulled in by Burak Yilmaz, who was making some sort of weird snaky run, and like faking a foul at the end of it, usually to no avail. But whatever. Still, he pulls that guy. So Nkudu was then much more effective, and we'll talk about that. But so after that first goal, though, Beşiktaş did not relent. But, of course, Denizli started to look a little dangerous. You could tell, a 1-goal lead in Turkey is nothing, ever, but for any team. And that seemed like it was the case again. But still, no retaliation quickly. And the first minute of extra time in the first half, Mbamba of Denizli got himself a yellow card, but that was the only other recorded piece of action from the first half. Do you remember anything else from that first half that you think we need to mention?
I remember right before we scored, Adam Ljajic had a snaky run through 3 defenders and almost scored. He had I think in the first half he had 5 key passes. I remember. I don't remember them all now. It's been a few days, but I remember Adam Ljajic was particularly excellent, and then Victor Ruiz looked really good in the first half.
And
as well.
You have to admit, so did Enzo Rocco. They were oddly
I think Rocco had a good first half as well.
Really weirdly.
Yeah, I think both of them are kind of the same as when the ball's in front of them, they're good. Particularly with Rocco, but once you get by Rocco, his recovery speed is quite poor, which I think is what Domagoj does. Is excellent. His recovery speed, you're not going to see Rocco sliding in after.
Yeah, sure, but you'd say Rocco was the worst in that regard. But, and I guess let's just cut right into it because that's a perfect segue. Olcay Şahan would come out of the game, by the way, and Sedat Şahintürk would enter, which is
our loanee, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Also, Estupinian would enter the match for Sako.
Yeah, as both of the wingers came out at halftime, as they were quite ineffective. Is what I mentioned before the game. It was clearly lacking.
But so this is the lead into what we were saying. there was a goal in the 53rd minute for Denizlipor, and it was that very same guy who got subbed in, Estupinian, which I don't know if you can say a word about him. I'll hand you the mic in a moment. But it was exactly that scenario where the ball got behind our two slow defenders. But it was Victor Ruiz who was really, like, his lack of pace was put out there glaringly in this case. Although Atiba Hutchinson, well, I'll hand it to you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Atiba really just kind of gave the ball very sloppily away in the midfield. He did like I think it's, I'm not gonna say it's like part of his game now, but I think as he's been aging, it has happened a little more. I think when he was younger, you only saw it in the games like with versus Bayern or Lyon versus like the bigger games. Well, younger, he was still like 35, but he still had like those kind of like stray back passes, and we saw another one of those today.
It could be a fatigue thing now that you mentioned it, right?
Yeah.
Like obviously,
then,
as you get more tired, you're.
Murawski, who was one of the better players of the day, he played just a splitting through ball.
Lovely ball.
Estupinian.
Lovely ball.
Yeah, and he just kind of burned.
And Estupinian, to his credit,
defense.
was really quite fast.
Yeah, to be fair, Estupinian is not like, he's not Nkudu fast, but our center backs are quite slow.
Yeah, especially on the day.
So that definitely got cut out. And then Ederson maybe could have done better.
Yes.
He came out a little bit slow, and then Estupinian kind of put it right through his legs. It does happen.
I've said
You
it
would
with
say no.
Karius. I'll say it with Ederson. A one-on-one is never the keeper's fault. Like, anything can happen.
Yeah.
Obviously,
anyone
he
could
could have
say
dropped
his fault,
faster.
but-
He could have dropped faster, no doubt. It was not a good one-on-one. But again, that is a specific skill. It's not like a reflex thing. He shows his reflexes in other scenarios. It's really just a skill, a one-on-one. When do you get down? Like,
I think that
being
he's made
aggressive.
multiple one-on-ones.
yeah, and
the
he
two
exactly.
games,
I was gonna say he's like probably like 2 for 3 or 3 for 4 on one-on-one.
Most of the ones he saved is when he like closes down the attacker very quickly.
Yeah, he just needs to
And
be
I
more
think that
aggressive.
is one of the strengths that Karius has shown.
Yeah.
What is when he has made more of those saves where he's not right on top of the attacker
Yeah.
and makes a reaction save. I think both of Erson's goals, other than like that deflected cross, were like similar situations where it was like a pseudo one-on-one where he couldn't really come out all the way and he was stuck in between.
No, yeah.
And the players have slotted low in. So I think that might be one of his weaknesses. I think if you saw his reaction, he was like pounding the ground.
Oh, he
Frustration.
knew,
It wasn't
yeah.
like an awful goal,
No, but
I think it's definitely one of his weaknesses.
yeah, no, he could have done
Also
better.
me.
There's no doubt. But again, he's 19. It's a skill that you develop. That's something you can be trained to be better at. And what you like to see is there are not many holes in his game. So that's you can focus on something like that. But anyway, 53rd minute. It's 1-1. But I'll be 100% honest with you. I'm really I'm of course sad, and you almost knew it was coming. But a part of me feels like this team almost kind of needs that little push. And they were already sort of dominating the match, if we're going to be 100% honest. Sorry, I know you have Denizli ties there, but
Fine.
but so it was coming, and I wasn't sweating as much as I would normally be sweating after a team equalizes. 59th minute, Yilmaz gets himself a yellow card. What's his first name?
O's.
Yilmaz. Okay, yeah, I think I may have. Just 1 minute later, after that yellow card, 7 minutes after the equalizer by Estupinian, Gokhan, who will have more to talk about shortly, scores, gives us the lead right back, and I hand you the mic, Evran.
Yeah, it was off. I think we've seen this goal multiple times if you watch Beşiktaş, but it was a corner kick by Ljajic at the near post. Atiba had the slightest flick on to the kind of like sort of like to the actual near post. I think Gokhan was perpendicular with the post at that point, and then not perpendicular, but in a straight line, and he just had an open header. Usually Gokhan is often the one who makes that flick on, but this time it was the opposite. Atiba to Gokhan. Atiba gets the assist, but I think Ljajic's corners were extremely dangerous all game, and finally one of them went in.
Gokhan Gunul, I mean, that for me, that's almost the prototypical Gokhan Gunul goal, and it's always those two that are involved in that sort of scenario. And I want to bookmark that for later because I think this is going to come up later. But I bet that was a sort of lovely moment for both of them. That sort of nostalgia. They've done that between them a dozen times, I would say. And they've had great moments together. So maybe that contributes to some later news. But anyway, moving right along. So now we're in the 60th minute. We have the lead again. And just 7 minutes later, and in just stunning, I mean, exactly the kind of goal you want as far as like grabbing the momentum. Burak Yilmaz sets up, I mean, my man, Georges Kevin Nkoudou, with the goal of the season, 100% thus far. I don't think one could even debate it, but I'll hand you the mic again.
Yeah, I think this was kind of like one of those goals that just ices the game. I guess for anyone who thinks Nkoudou's bad at shooting, in the chat, as I said before the game, he is very good at shooting. It's just his decision making isn't very good, and I think he's shown it here. Plays a 1-2 with Burak, like at the top of the box, but Burak does this real clever flick over the top.
Yeah.
It's on the left corner of the box, and you think, oh, maybe Nkoudou will bring it down. It's falling on his left foot. This man just comes in lasers like a leaping kung fu volley. It almost like a Van Basten-esque volley, straight over the goalie's head.
I mean,
made international news.
Yeah, that's right. Nature Report had that one.
Absolute.
A screamer from Turkey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like what anything I can say about it will just like nothing can compare to seeing that. Go, if you didn't see it, go look it up, man. Just wow.
Yeah.
Just a beautiful goal. 68th minute now with the game sort of comfortable. Victor Ruiz goes out of the game for Erdoğan Kaya. Tyler Boyd comes into the game for Nkoudou, who would have gotten a nice round of applause, I suppose, but nobody was there. Anything you want to say about those subs before we move on to the next?
I think Erdoğan Kaya was in some of the pre-game starting 11s.
Yeah.
So I guess we got to see him play, but I think this was a little bit of a shift because now we have two right-footed center backs. So Rocco was shifted to the left side.
Yeah.
And I think Rocco looked particularly uncomfortable in possession on that side. Which I guess is.
Yeah.
I think we've seen like Pepe's played there, or was it when we used to have Pepe Vida and it wasn't much of a problem. I think it's one of his limitations.
Yeah.
That we saw, and Erdoğan Kaya didn't look particularly excellent. Neither did Tyler Boyd, to be honest, coming off the bench.
No, yeah, he didn't make a good impression.
Rotation substitutions.
And I will say, like, all right, let's just quickly just move on to the next one, and then I want to come back to this point real quick. Just a couple minutes later, 7 minutes later, the game was absolutely iced. And again, like maybe the second best goal of the season, honestly. Again, Burak Yilmaz, the setter-upper. But Adem Ljajic sends in a laser. Oh, I should trademark that. A laser from like 24 feet, I think it was. 24 meters. I don't know, yards.
Yeah, not 24 feet.
Not feet, yards or meters. I don't know. And yeah, boom, the game it's 4-1. What do you have to say about that one?
I think it's kind of like a typical Ljajic goal. I think Bob used to score shots like this where the defenders showing Ljajic likes to cut in and hit those curling shots.
Yeah, he probably has a little more curl than Bob used to.
Yeah, it looked like he was gonna maybe slot in Burak, but he kind of just did like one of those blind across body shots with dip into the near corner.
You must have liked that.
A lot of times
that's a flare goal.
The goalies don't always expect that, and I think goalie got a fingertip to it, but it was not enough. And,
no,
nice little finish.
He gave us just what we wanted
on the Serb. Yep, that's for sure.
Beautiful.
Makes 3 goals in his last 4 games, by the way.
Yeah, no, he's really he's on good form. It's exactly what we were saying, in the lead up to this.
And that's over 2 90-minute periods, basically, because 3 of those were sub appearances.
Exactly. Yeah.
So he's quite in form right now.
For sure. So going back to the previous point, which I had said I wanted to do, at this point we have a 3-goal lead. It's 1-4, I guess, since we're on the road. And so what I was going to say is that
there's some demoralizing goals in there too.
Yeah, the Nkudu goal and the Ljajic goal back to back like that, like you're done. Like you're 6 feet under.
Yeah.
But so the point that I'm making here is that it's tough to come into a match where your team is up by 3 goals. Fatigue's already set in. Remember, these guys are just starting to play again from that long break. And on top of that, it's warm, right? It's getting through the summer in Turkey, which is a hot place to be in the summer. But so it's tough to come into a game where you need to make an impression and play well when the rest of your guys are probably taking it easy at this point with the 3-goal lead, et cetera, et cetera, everything I just said. So that's like my only caveat to judging any of these performances too harshly, I guess. But with that said, yeah, Erdogan Kaya and Tyler Boyd and even Enzo Rocco after then all dipped in form. Were not particularly impressive. In the 77th minute, Diaby would enter the game for Germain Lens, who also I thought did not play particularly well. This was not a good game for him. And in the 79th minute, Ozgur Cech would come in for Mbamba, which is not the end of the subs. I should remind everyone that there are 5 subs now, so you don't, that's not it. But yeah, there would still be one more goal, and that would come in the 78th minute with the guy who had just entered the game, Diaby. No assist credited to anyone here, but so tell me what happened there.
Yeah, I believe it was an El Neni assist.
They didn't credit to him on Google.
Yeah, so on FotMob has an El Neni assist, which I believe is more reliable. My humble opinion.
I know you're absolutely right. Google has failed me on multiple occasions. So.
So it was just kind of like a simple through ball to Diaby, and then took like a weird first touch, and we were like, oh, is he gonna turn around and try to dribble everybody? Because the defenders were catching up to him. He's at like the penalty spot, and he's kind of stood there, basically. And all the defenders just kind of like carried past him, and he just calmly slotted the ball into the top corner from a standing position. Very un-Diaby-esque to be very calm and cool.
Yeah, and a lovely finish.
Find the finish.
No, it's so funny.
Not something
Your setup is perfect. It was like, how's he gonna mess this up? And then it's like, okay, wow, whoa. He didn't even do anything that year, right? He just stood there, but wow, it was effective. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, that was 5-1. His 3rd goal of the season, or 3rd league goal of the season.
Sign that man up. I actually heard rumors that Sporting Lisbon is willing to reduce the fee from 5 to 3 million. So I don't know.
Bargains
Look
out
at that. Yeah, look at this guy. I don't know what's gonna happen with that, but we'll talk rumors later. 81st minute. Couple subs for Beşiktaş, some interesting ones. Umut Nair for Burak Yilmaz is not particularly interesting, but Kartal Kayra Yilmaz for Adem Ljajic is the one that some of our listeners may be interested in. And a couple subs for Denizlipor, but we don't need to go into it. That would be it, though. Match ends 1-5. A thumping, triumphant victory for Beşiktaş. Evran, close us out. What do you have to say about the match? And then I'll hand it over to you further for statistics.
I guess the last substitution was the most exciting one. We got to see Kartal play, and he did look quite good in one of his few appearances of the season. I think, as some people said, he had some silky passes.
That's right.
In his 8 minutes. And I think for us who haven't been particularly happy with the Tiba El Neni combo, for me, mostly the El Neni part, it'll be interesting to see if Kartal gets any more chances, because he's only played 2 league appearances, and that combines to about 15 minutes in the whole season. So,
but a full match against Wolverhampton, which you would have never expected going into our European campaign, but somehow it made complete sense at the time. Yeah, no, promising. Obviously, we still need to see more. I mean, I think you and I are both relatively conservative in rushing to throw someone up on a pedestal, because we also, I think, both probably are aware of how damaging that has been to so many good young Turkish players in the past. I don't even want to puff up their egos too much, but yeah, no, he was good. He was definitely good. I think he definitely needs to be a part of a rotation going forward, especially next season, where maybe now I would get it if he didn't, because
there's a lot of
on the line
coming in apparently, so I think now would be the best time for him to
yeah, but there's so much on the line,
space.
So I would get if Sergen was a little bit more conservative going forward. I mean, not entirely. I think Ridvan needs to stay out there, for example, but yeah, I don't know. Let's sort of keep it short with analysis today, because we have so much to talk about. But quickly, tell us a little bit about some stats. You may have some advanced stats, the goodies.
Yeah.
What have we today, Mr. Statman?
I think I like my favorite stat, expected goals.
Yeah.
Again, Beşiktaş dominated even more so than the Antalya game. Beşiktaş had 2.5 expected goals, so I think we definitely scored more than expected. I mean, we did score 2 wonder goals, or 1 wonder goal and 1 very unexpected goal, I guess. So those are very low chances, particularly Ljajic's goal from that position has a very low chance. But we still had a 2.5 compared to Denizli's 1.16. So that gives us a 71% chance to win the game. I guess, that's kind of the numbers we've been seeing all season under Sergen. So I think the numbers still support that we are playing better than every team we face with Sergen as the coach. And with Avcı, it was not like that.
Let me just quickly say that, piggybacking on your point there, Sergen Yalçın has installed a very consistent brand of football pretty quickly, to his credit. Now that you mention it. But sorry, go ahead.
I think the pass map is pretty similar. Interestingly enough, Burak Yılmaz's average touch is deeper than Ljajic. So the pass map shows Ljajic as playing like a striker almost. Which I don't think was, if you watch the game, was not quite the case. But Burak definitely dropped very deep and allowed players to play off of him.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, and Ljajic showed a lot of promise going forward. I think he had 6 key passes, with 5 of them in the first half.
Today was easily Burak's best.
Yeah. If you don't know, that's very high. Burak had 5 chances to create himself with 2 assists. I think overall, Gokhan was good. Burak was good. Ljajic was good. Ruiz was good. I think Onkuru showed that he can play excellently in flashes. That's still my opinion of him. He has every tool he needs to succeed, and I think he showed that. But his decision making still isn't the greatest. I think he's a little bit predictable at times. But I think if things do click, he could be a top winger in the league.
And we got him at the right age in that regard, too.
Yeah, he is 25.
There's still time for that development to take place, especially the mental aspect,
Yeah. Yeah. Overall, the usual stats. We had 65% possession.
Nice.
Less shots than last game, but less possession. Because I guess we didn't have to.
How about in comparison to them? How was shots? It was actually pretty close this time, wasn't it?
Yeah, Denizli actually created 3 big chances to our 2, which is interesting. According to Fatmov, we had 18 shots, or 18 chances to 13, 17 shots to 12. We had a whopping 91% pass success, which is extremely high.
Yeah. I love that. That's been a trademark of Sergen so far. Although Avcı Avcı actually set a pretty good foundation in that regard. I'll give him credit there.
Yeah.
Nice. Any other stats you want to throw at us?
Not really. I think got most of them.
Nice.
The important ones.
Yeah, good stuff. I like it. I like that you have more fancier. We're offering our listeners something unique here. I like this. Let's quickly talk about what this all means. I guess no. First, all right. We've got to do a little bit of analysis here. But we'll keep it brief. God, there's so much to talk about. Let's just do it. Let's keep it real brief. Let's just say who are your highlights and lowlights. Let me go first. You've been talking a lot, man. Look at you, Mike Hogg over here. I will say that the only real lowlights today for me, God, it was like 3 days ago. My only real lowlights were Lens, who I thought played particularly poorly, especially given they played pretty well last week, and you'd hoped he might carry that through. That's obviously why he played this week. So I don't know what's going to be made of, who will play. I hope Diaby doesn't get it because of that goal. But there may be a change at right wing because of that. Also, El Neni. I mean, he actually played much better in the second half, but his first half was, to quote myself on Twitter, I believe I referred to it as cheeks. So
I think El Neni always is he's obviously a decent player, but when it's close, he doesn't really show any creativity. He plays very safe, and I think when we used to play back in the day, I think we used to that prime Ozan type midfielders who were playing those, those wow passes from deep, and that second creator. Right now, we don't have that second creator. We used to have, Ozan Sosa. So we always had that double creator that we got used to, and now it's just Ljajic, kind of.
Yeah, we're pretty singular in that sense. Yeah, and Burak Yilmaz when he decides to play.
Yeah.
Well, so all right. So I mean, you probably agree with me on the lowlights. Would you add anyone to the mix? I mean, our subs we talked about already, but
I think Ridvan had it wasn't awful, but he definitely he made one mistake, and they kind of started to pile up in the first half. So it wasn't bad, but I think it was definitely not as good as his last game.
I wouldn't add him to the list of lowlights because, in fact, and I liked this match because after last week, I was on board. He played so well, but at the same time, my fear was, can he really live up to that week in, week out? And the answer was no, which you kind of expected, honestly, given the kid's so young and hasn't played regularly. But I like that even though he wasn't at his best, he still managed to kind of cobble together all around a pretty decent game. And especially, he maintained his focus defensively, which is that's the most important thing, If you're a little bit off, it's fine to say, you know what, I'm going to kind of play more conservatively. I'm not going to make some runs because I'm just not feeling it today. That happens. But if you can still contribute and be solid at the back and help defend. I mean, he was probably one of our better defenders once Enzo Rocco wasn't playing well and Erdogan Kaya, maybe isn't that good. But so, that's my only... I agree that he actually did not play that well in the first half especially. But... In a sense, like I said, I was pleased by how he responded to not having a good day. But so what about highlights, Evran? Who do you think stood out for us? I feel it's pretty obvious.
Ljajic was the player I think I have been saying should start, and he finally got to start. And I think that first 45, he was just on like an absolute tear. And then the second 45, he had a nice goal. So I was very happy. He looked like, he wanted to play. It was like the Ljajic of last season when we went on that run in the second half of the year. Mm-hmm. That's what it reminded me of when it seemed like he was single-handedly carrying Channel's flawed team to
exactly.
off the table. So, that's.
We've been really good about these premonitions, I must not to gloat, but I really, though, I have to say, I had this sense that and truly, if we can get this guy to take a bit of a pay cut, I don't mind because he's already kind of old enough that we could kind of keep him till 30 or something, if he becomes this talismanic figure for us. I really feel that he could be that bridge from where we are with this sort of youth movement and everything we're kind of moving towards, but he could kind of bridge us maybe a little bit gracefully into that next era.
I disagree a little bit. I just think we're too broke.
I agree. No, it's not. It's not realistic. It's not realistic.
Yeah, probably. I think I would love to see him play more, but realistically, if he continues this season like this, I think we'll get an offer that we cannot afford to say no to.
No, you can't refuse. No, I mean, that's the problem. As the better he plays, the more likely that offer is to come. But I just got to say, it would be really nice to see him. I think he's shown the capacity to be that sort of talismanic leader, and he's just turning like that age where he needs to be doing that, and it would translate well for like the Serbian national team if he could take on these like leadership role and anyways. But that's yes, Ljajic is probably man of the match. Who else played really well for you? Burak Yilmaz, correct?
Yeah.
Anyone else?
He, guess you gotta say Gokhan played, I think, exceptionally well, especially when he got I'm not sure if you remember, he got absolutely crunched at the beginning of the second half.
Yeah, he did.
In his special section, and then he stood back up and scored that header 3 minutes later.
That's a baller right there. Baller.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
I always thought of him kind of like that, low-key captain that's not a captain.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Maybe he could become one if things are becoming true. Well, so yeah. Anyone else you want to mention? I think we should probably, again, give a shout-out to that Enzo Rocco and Victor Ruiz pairing that, against all the odds, was solid certainly for a good half.
I think is not something you can rely on.
No.
Forever, but I think it is kind of what I said. It's a little. I think everyone said that's a little slow.
Oh, for sure. You saw it on the goal.
Saw that. It was a little slow. But I think both players can play. I think it's just they need someone a little bit different to be paired with them.
Yeah,
but in my opinion, I think you'd agree Ruiz is the more complete
yes
footballer of the two.
Yeah. But at the very least, I feel good about Enzo Rocco as a player, who can play.
He's definitely not useless or anything like that.
No,
he does his job.
In a really nice world, he'd be a great third central back. I don't know if we can afford him in that role, and that's a whole conversation we had another day because we have a lot of other things to talk about. But it was just good to see him play well. He came with I think we all had big hopes for the Chilean national team. Somehow we just never saw him play. But so yeah, it was just hope somehow maybe he can get an opportunity, increase his value, and even earn us $1 or $2. But we'll see. It'll have to happen soon. Anything else to say about that match?
I guess Ederson was pretty good again overall.
Yeah.
He made a couple nice saves, and I think his distribution, especially with his hands, is quite good and is better than I expected with his feet. I don't know why. I guess because he's built kind of like Tolga Zengin. It gives me flashbacks to horrendous distribution and making my eyes water. And
making
depression, not being able to take goal kicks and having Pedro Franco take goal kicks instead. So him being actually able to kick a ball, having very good throwing, it is nice to see.
Yeah. He got a nice boot up the field even that I like to see. Ederson played great. I think he has earned another look more and more. Keep him coming. But of note, it should be said that Kerem Kalafat and I forget the keeper's name. They've been brought up to the first team, which might not be good for Utku. What was the keeper?
Yeah, I do not expect Utku to be at the club. I mean, I don't think there's any rumors, but I don't really see the point of keeping him at this point unless he wants to be the third string and just accept his salary.
Yeah.
But,
Do you know the name of the guy I'm talking about who just got brought up to the first team? Probably can be our backup.
No.
Emre, whatever. Look it up if you really care. But we may have a new backup keeper. If we do, I'll tell you guys next week because he'll be on the roster. But yeah, so that's it. And before we jump into what else happened in the Super League, I will go through the table. And I will tell you the table as it stands now. And then we can talk about why it is the way that it stands now. Now, Beşiktaş is still in 5th place. But we are now 3 points ahead of Alanyaspor, a full 3 points, and 4 points ahead of Fener, which is nice. We are 4 points behind Galatasaray in 4th place. They have 51. Sivas has 53 and are 6 points ahead of us. Trabzon has 56 10 points ahead of us. And Başakşehir have 59, 12 points ahead of us. So what this means is that third place, a potential Champions League spot, assuming Trabzonspor remains banned, might be out there for the taking. I mean, not exactly. Obviously, there's still 6 weeks to go for this season. But just now, there's just a 2-match reverse we need here to catch Sivas. So tell us what happened, man. For us. Tell us what happened this week. How did the table become so exciting for a Beşiktaş fan this week?
Yeah, so of the top 7 teams, everyone dropped points except for Başakşehir and us. Başakşehir beat Ankaragücü, came from behind. Trabzon played the team right behind us, Alanya, and conceded like a late equalizer. The president ran on the field for Trabzon. There was like a brawl. It was classic Turkish league.
A lot of people are, by the way, are not able to watch their local league yet, and so there are eyes on the Super League, and people are noticing out there how exciting this league is. Quite the week
of drama.
Yeah, I mean, what a week for the outsiders to get a view in. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Sivas also dropped points. They came back tied at the last minute. They had several players of their main stars, out. So I think this is the week they played Konya, who's battling relegation. In Konya, they got the tie there, so they dropped 2 points. Gala conceded a 90 plus 15 penalty, and then their only fit center back, or natural center back, Ahmet got a red card. And they tied that game 3-3.
And Falcao was injured again.
Yeah. Falcao, so he may or may not play. So Donk will be back. So again, they'll have one center back. But they finished the game with 2 center mids at center back when they concede those 3 goals. So Gala is definitely, they're 4 points ahead of us, but they're struggling. And, the next couple weeks is Başakşehir and Trabzon. So I think that's definitely the easiest team to pass. Alanya, as I said, tied Trabzon. So they dropped to 3 points behind us. Fenerbahçe lost to Kasımpaşa 2-0.
What a time to be alive.
Yeah. So there's definitely a lot of upsets this week. So Beşiktaş is 4 points behind Gala, 6 points behind Sivas, which are the 2 main teams we're trying to catch. I think Gala, we can all agree, is the team in peril, but Sivas has not been in good form the second half of the season. And we actually have the exact same schedule as Sivas, except 1 game. So it's basically who plays better between the 2 of us.
I mean, what's sort of crazy is that match day 28 was the match day, the weekend that kept on giving. It just got better and better. Except for maybe Başakşehir, I guess. It would have been fascinating if Başakşehir had lost, because they're going up against Galatasaray and then Trabzon as well. Yeah. Those 3 are in a weird triangle in the coming.
So right now we're following Sivas in the game. So last week they played Denizli. We played them this week. Next week we play Konya. Last week they played Konya. So we're just basically following them. They beat Denizli 1-0. 10-man Denizli. We beat them 5-1. So now Konya comes to visit us. I guess we can see if we continue to outperform our main. It's weird to say Sivas is our main rivals at this point, but
yeah. I mean, you can't say enough about this weekend. It was exciting, thrilling. But let's move on, man. Let's move on. We have so much sort of fun stuff to talk about now besides all of that. So let's dig into it. Where do we begin? All right, you know what? Actually, I just remembered something important. One important thing I'm going to mention is we've talked a lot about the hashtag Black Lives Matter. This is a chance for you to prove that they do to you, our loyal, lovely listeners. We are in contact with a fellow who's running an academy in Accra, in Ghana, the Beşiktaş JK Berlin Football Academy of Accra, to be specific. And he is trying to become a legitimate academy to provide youth players to Beşiktaş is his ultimate goal. Whether he gets there or not, who knows? But one thing we can do is get his kids some Beşiktaş kits. And that means
our man Mohammed.
That's his name. Mohammed Aminu, Really nice guy. I've been talking to him a lot. He's been sending lots of videos and photos of the kids training. Very heartwarming stuff. So here, like I said, in the coming days, I'm going to interview him when the season's over, when we have some space, and he'll tell us a little bit about what he's doing over there and his ambitions for the academy. But I hope to maybe even set up a GoFundMe or something so that we can raise the funds. We have plenty of guys in Istanbul who can procure the shirts. I hope if anyone out there knows someone at the club, definitely bring their attention to him. But regardless, I hope to raise some funds so we can buy the kits and send them there. If you know anyone in Kartal Yuvası, I'd love a way to get some shirts in stock, some bulk, some kids shirts or something. Maybe last season's. I bet there are a ton of shirts sitting in a warehouse somewhere for the Kartal Yuvası. Just would love to give them away for less. If you know anyone, let us know. But anyway, there'll be more notifications going forward. I'll throw his Twitter in the description for this episode, so check that out as well. But yeah, so that's a fun little bit of news. We're gonna do a little philanthropy here with the Black Eagles podcast. And again, look out for that in the future. He'll be on to talk about what they're doing down there in Ghana. But what's super fun today is that we have some amazing transfer news to go over.
A boatload of it.
What? I don't even know where to begin with that because, all right, I do. I take it back. We'll start, as we always do, with the guys who are currently with the club. And I think there's good news and better news this time. Sorry, that's some John Air hate for I shouldn't do that with him potentially on his way out now. But we'll start there since I just said what's up. John Air Erkin, tell us what's up there, Evran.
Yeah, so there's I think as kind of what we expected, considering Ridvan has been playing, that the signals are saying that he's leaving at the end of the season. According to Orta Chizgi, their exclusive, says that he was offered a contract 1/3 the amount of his current salary, which is like 1.8 million or 1.75 million. So it's around 500,000, 600,000. What he was the ballpark what he's offered per year. Probably won't take that. I think his agent said he has interest from abroad, and I think also Fenerbahce, which is the team he's expected to join. And then apparently Sergen was kind of like, I don't really care if he stays or not, which kind of think led to him not being at the club for next year and not currently playing.
Sharks, let's go her turn away out. No, that's super rude. He had some great years for us. He, before his last injury, was probably one of our better players last season. He's put in some good work for the club, but with Ridvan and we'll talk about what other news. It's the time is right. I wish him the best wherever he goes. I hope he goes abroad. It'd be nice for him to get one more.
Get a third stop.
Yeah, exactly. One last go at it. But yeah, let's move things along to the opposite side of that very same defense, our defense.
His brother in crime.
And this is the better news because this is the guy we said we, despite his advancing age, would rather sort of keep between the two. Gokhan Gonul, tell us what's the deal?
Yeah, so no crazy amazing sources, but apparently we've agreed with Gokhan for next year. I've read a 1+1 deal with a very reasonable salary, like a 500,000 guaranteed plus bonuses, which I think would take it up to about 800,000. This is from Saba and Shafak Malatya, both say the same thing.
Pretty decent sources.
Yeah. Basically, he's cut his salary in half. The exact numbers aren't clear. I've heard they're slightly different. But yeah, it looks like they say guaranteed 500,000, and then based on how many games he plays, it'll be up to 800,000. So that is quite low. I can see he is 35, but that's it's quite the cut from 1.65 guaranteed million to 500,000 guaranteed.
But it had a lot of like kickers and stuff, so it could actually go up and play a certain amount of games or whatever it was.
It would still be half. His previous contract, even with all the bonuses.
It's a lovely team-friendly deal.
I think if that does happen, my low-key captain, like I said, that's definitely what you like to see.
Yeah, no doubt. Really taking one for the team, because he could have probably gotten paid a lot more somewhere else if he wanted. But no, you love to see it. Like I said, it's the timing right after that goal that he scored, the kind of classic Gokhan goal with Atiba, no less. I wonder if that reminded him of all the good times he's had, because it really, the iconic goal.
Yeah, I think he's always reliable, and I don't remember maybe he has bad games, but in the big games, the small games, when we're playing bad, when we're playing good, he's always been a good player for us. Obviously, no one can play good every game, but I think when it's consistency at his age, it's hard to find anyone quite like him in the Turkish league.
Yeah. Oh, and we're probably still going to maybe need to be on the market for a backup. Douglas is on his way out, supposedly. So, the news that Kerem Kalafat is being brought up to the first team is likely the news that we're going to get a look at him to see if he could sort of fill in as that backup next year. But if not, we may be back on the market, even though we are keeping Gokhan Gono. So,
I think last week or 2 weeks ago we mentioned Boachi. Boachi was a potential young right back. So I think we'll be, if he does come back, we'll be looking for a young prospect.
Yeah, that would be a good one too. So good news coupled with maybe more good news. And so I guess let's just jump straight in, since we already had the talk about Caner, let's talk about Nsakala, who, with Caner out, we clearly need someone there to maybe start over Ridvan or be, have that spot taken from him by Ridvan. But yeah, we need someone who we can sort of rely on as an insurance option. I have to mention, we had some good listener questions. Yasin, we'll have to come back to that one. But from Arda Unal, at Arda Unal 1111, he asked, there's a rumor that we're interested in Alanya Sport left back Nsakala. Do you have any opinions about that? That's obviously become much more than just a rumor.
NTV says it's done, 100%.
And not only that,
doesn't mean it's done.
Today on Orta Chizki, there was someone posting pictures of him in a kit, and he already liked it on Instagram or something like that. So there's,
he's been flirting with the transfer for a little while now.
There's some real movement there. He also said there are rumors that Gokhan Gundogan offered a 2-year contract. What's your opinion about the average team age? It was 33.2 last year, one of the oldest in the world. That's a fun little side point to mention, actually. We did just talk about Gokhan Gundogan, and I think, Arda, you will have noted that we are both fairly positive about re-signing him. But I think we both recognize we need a young backup who we can be bringing in. The 2 years that we extend him should provide us with a bridge that we're developing the next guy. And that needs to, since it's not Douglas, we need to start moving on that. Do you have any thoughts there as far as the age goes? Now, we are, I think, generally speaking, reducing the age.
Finally.
Unal Bay.
I think we talked about, what was it, right before the season restarted, I brought up the Turkish league under 21 numbers, or under 21 minutes played by Beşiktaş in the league, and I think we kind of agreed that it was pretty awful. So, I think average age is decreasing currently, and I think, as we'll discuss in the more rumors, we'll see more young guys looking to come in.
And already, moves, we're not seeing the 30-plus-year-olds anymore. We haven't seen any moves like that for a while. Although,
I think we're seeing some late 20s, early
Yeah.
30s, but it's going to be like more under the radar players like Insaka.
Exactly.
I think he's going to turn 30 next year, but
And then Sakala's already
no more
a
of the-
bridge for Ridvan, who's 19.
Yeah.
So
no more bomba transfers.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, sort of emphasis on development. It's what we have to do to cut costs, given everything, the economy and club's finances and all that. But so in Sakala, how do we feel about it? Yeah, like I said, I think he's a good bridge. And the fact that Ridvan is becoming such a solid player at the moment makes me feel even better about Insakala, because he's hopefully good enough that we can rely on him as a definite starter and kind of develop Ridvan without that pressure of making him play game in, game out. But at the same time, if Ridvan becomes sort of unbenchable, I don't think anyone's going to complain, you know? So, and Insakala's, you know, he's going to make 750,000, 800,000, whatever it is, which is a lot in theory, but it's a lot less to be paying for a backup than we've been paying for, like, Lens, for example. You know, we've made much worse deals in that regard in the past. So it's still progress even in that regard, I think.
I've always rated Insaka as kind of like an underrated Super League player. I don't think it's like, you know, the best transfer possible. But I think it's kind of like a Toshic transfer, but I think he's actually a little bit better on the ball than Toshic was.
Sure.
A little bit less of like a warrior type left back, but still very aggressive. I think I know a lot of people be like, oh, you know, Toruk in the chat. It is what it is. It's a safe option. He can play defensively quite well. He can still attack. He's experienced. He's not expensive. He's physically quite good also.
For anyone who needs that flash on that, you know, who wants to be more excited about someone at that position, we have Ridvan to be excited about. So, you know, I think we have the best of both worlds in a way. It's good to have someone a little older and more reliable at the position, especially if we can get something in Europe going, maybe. I
think if we do play Europa League and Cup and League next year, or if there's even Champions League next year, you're going to need to have two reliable left backs. And I think Insakala is a great fill-in, especially let's say like Cup games, League games. You know, I don't think you can rely on a 20-year-old. I think he'll be 20 next year, Ridvan, to be playing midweek and the weekend, 180 minutes. I don't think he's ready for that.
Yeah,
so
agreed. Quickly, I'm going to do this on air. Knocking on wood as far as Champions League football. Let's hope for the best. So let's finish up the talk of rumors, and then maybe I guess we can circle back to Yasin's question. Kind of already touched on it, but whatever. We'll address it concretely. But yeah, it's transfers incoming. Let's do the fancier one first. Leroy Fer. What do you got to say about him?
Yeah, I think we've brought him up like a few times in the past, but they're saying it's a done deal. He's done a medical, according to BTD.
Dutch.
Which,
for the record.
it's not like guaranteed source, but they're saying he'll make around 900K
Also, not
per
bad.
year if he does come, which is not bad. I think he would be expected to kind of come in and start in that number 8 role. I think there's a lot of players being linked in that position. We have quite a few, and we have quite a few out on loan. So I think it'll be quite interesting to see how the midfield actually does shake up.
Yeah, maybe this wasn't the most exciting one,
up,
actually. And the other really exciting one is also, I think, kind of a central midfielder.
Yeah, similar type of role.
NIKA NINUA. Tell us about that one. Let's just cycle through. We're taking too long.
Yeah.
NIKA NINUA.
This is out of nowhere. A Georgian newspaper, Ajar Sport, said that the deal is done. It's completed. He just turned 21 yesterday.
Considered a wonder kid.
A Georgian. Yeah. I mean, he's not. I would never compare him to like Hasic. I think we also have to mention Hasic scored a wonder goal, actually on loan with Umrania. But Nino is kind of more of like a deep line or central midfielder. Apparently he's a free kick specialist. There's a couple clips going around on the interwebs. The scouts are posting videos. Looks like he's got a good pass on him, good long ball. he's the top talent of the Georgian league, but
What's interesting is he has
think
that
there's
6 and 8 variability. So, I mean, maybe he could even be the next Atiba, which we really need. He's 21 too, so he'd theoretically be about the age where you'd want him to start contributing.
he kind of reminds me a little bit more of like an Ozan type player. He has scored a lot of goals for a midfielder in the Georgian league, but there's quite a jump. I would say it's more of like the second division of Turkey type level, which is not like low level, maybe even like maybe slightly lower than that. So it's possible for him to make the jump, but it's I think it's definitely kind of one of those diamonds in the rough type players we would have to see first at the first team to really make a judgment.
He plays for Dinamo Tbilisi, which I think is
he's also their captain
at 21.
at the age of
and
21.
I think that's the best team in Georgia. So hey, what the hell? I dig it. And then finally, quickly lead us through the 2 young guys that we're being linked with. Let's start with Gokhan Inci, because we've already sort of we talked about him a bit last week.
Or a couple weeks ago, I think. He's the Karşıyaka winger, if you remember him.
Striker.
So apparently there was like an Instagram live stream, according to Ajan Sport, with the manager of the team, and he said that Beşiktaş already made an offer for him, and negotiations are ongoing. So there's concrete interest. He's also 21, goal-scoring winger. Pretty highly rated. And then the new one, this is an Orta Çizgi Özel. This is like the top talent, I guess, because I've seen him been linked to Juventus also. He's a Turkish-German player. He plays for Turkey U19 with Ridvan and Ersin. He has an outrageous record for Werder Bremen's U19
and Ozan Akgün.
So he's a striker/winger, mostly striker. He has 22 goals and 12 assists in 20 games. Yeah, that's Messi level.
And the
stats.
the German amateur leagues or youth league, I should say, are probably the strongest in the world. You could probably argue.
Yeah. So we have had some mixed experiences, I think, with U19. Yeah, Güven, Muhayyer has come over, Ozan Aydoğan. So it's not like a guaranteed that he'll.
I give Muhayyer an incomplete.
But he's 18, and a young 18. I think if it does happen, obviously I haven't seen him play, but that'd be quite the coup. He has 2 years left on his deal, so I think it might be expensive. I doubt Werder Bremen will want to get rid of a player absolutely lighting up their youth leagues, but to be fair, Enes Ünal also had an outrageous youth league record, and it hasn't exactly worked out for him. So it's not a guaranteed success, but definitely promising.
But and this is another sort of podcast motto: you can't win the lottery if you don't buy a ticket. And I believe that's it, isn't it? That's all we got.
No, we have a little, not with young players, but we have the one other one was that Sergen, according to Orta Çizgi, also Wellington, but he's not a free agent at the end of the season with Alanya Sport, so I don't think it's likely financially. He's a 31-year-old Brazilian center back for Alanya who has a couple years left on his deal.
He would obviously be playing next to Victor Ruiz theoretically.
Yeah, it's possible. I just don't see Alanya wanting to get rid of, a player with 3 years left on his deal for, less than $1 million or something.
Sergen, his former coach, wanting him would only make him that much more appealing to his team now in a sad way, or at least increase his value for having come out publicly. That's the one I'm least excited about. I guess that's why I forgot about it. Wellington. But I think that about covers it, huh?
Yeah, and then also, as we mentioned, Hasic, I would recommend, if you haven't seen the goal, going on the Beşiktaş International Twitter or just looking it up. It is an absolute screamer.
Did Ertem Sençkin play?
I'm not sure, but I think this kind of reaffirms maybe Hasic has that something, that world class quality where even the clips you see, every clip of him is just scoring some outrageous goal.
This goal is really beautiful. Evran is not kidding.
I'm not kidding. Yeah, it's really I think the Ninua goals that I saw, they're good, but every goal I see Hasic score is just some crazy goal. So I think there's reason to be excited for, one of probably the most expensive teenagers in Turkish football. So
fingers crossed, man. Yeah, no, I loved it. Yeah, we'll keep tabs on him. I hope he keeps playing for Umraniye.
Yeah, and this one is grown man football. I think a lot of the goals he was scoring were in the youth teams. So
yeah. At the very least, it means we definitely probably got a backup attacking midfielder for Ljajic. I assume Boateng is probably not coming back.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's apparently injured. But the financials don't look good on that side. So
yes. But anyway, so I think that's it, man. Let's wrap things up. Of course, follow us. Follow this podcast at Eagles_podcast to get all the podcast-related information. Follow the mothership for all the news, and it's coming fast and furious these days, at Beşiktaş_INT. Follow my man Evran over here at fan of BJK. And follow myself at Sir_Rights_a lot. Follow the Beşiktaş Berlin, or no, sorry, the guy in Ghana that I was talking about. It's at Accra, ACCRAJK. Yeah, man, get all the latest from them, and as far as maybe our next academy down in Ghana, which would be fantastic. Developing football in country that's really done well on the international stage in the last few World Cups, for example. So, yeah, I'm all about it. Let's get that going. May have to send Coach Akman over there to scout and develop some of these kids. But yeah, that's all I have to say, except, and it's really important that I don't forget to mention it. Go Beşiktaş!
Şimdi Bobo'nun önüne. Bobo aldı. Bobo girdi. Bobo. Bobo çok babasın. Çok harikasın. Çok güzelsin. Harika.
Saying how 12 centimeters.
Beşiktaş International hopes you enjoyed this program.